video we were so looking forward to. We answer the most frequently asked questions that you guys share with us all the time about the adjustment.
If you guys have been asking year after year, day after day, and we have done it, we have simplified like 8+ years of education and experience into a 20-minute video for you guys. So in this video, we're gonna be covering, like Loren said, the most commonly asked questions, which are, what are we feeling for on the table? Why do we walk away in between contacts? And what can you be doing, or what should you be experiencing on the table? So
Also the most common question, so what the heck are you doing? That's really the main question that we try to answer for you. And so whether you're under care at REV or you're just curious about us, this is an in-depth video that I feel like you all have been waiting for, and I hope you enjoy it. So we are gonna cover the most frequently asked questions about the adjustment and our neural integration process. I'm so looking forward to this one. We're gonna be answering some frequently asked questions.
FAQs.
We have myself, Dr. Loren, Dr. Erica, and our lovely model, Dr. Matt here, who's gonna be helping us out. So one of the first questions that we get is, you know what, I'm feeling really good, but what are you doing? What the heck are you doing? What are you feeling for on the table? So we're gonna dive into that right now. But first, I wanna talk about really just how we look at the body globally and why our process is the way that it is. So our approach is looking at the body in a global way. And the reason is because we are a global dynamic being. So for example of that, one of the things I like to use, and if you don't mind me using you for this, is, let's say I put a force into Erica. Watch her body whenever I do that. Whenever I go like this, see how her whole body had an effect to that? And maybe it started in the shoulder, or maybe she has pain in the shoulder, but her whole body had a response to that stimulus. So that's one example from a physical example. But as we talk about, as you may know, we have all other life experiences that happen in our life that can have an effect on the totality and the whole body. So that's how our approach starts.
So our nervous system is essentially like this seek and find mechanism that goes through life having experiences. Some things we process, some things we don't process so well. And our nervous system keeps record of all these things and then holds them in our body. And essentially what we're finding or feeling for is tone, or the tensegrity, meaning that this guy right here is not just a lower half of the body, an upper half of the body, a head. If I were to pull Matt from his ankles, like his head should move like this. Every muscle, every ligament is connected. So if there's tension in this piece of the body, there's gonna be tension in other parts of the body too. And that's simply all we're feeling for.
So like Erica said, one of the first questions we get a lot is, what are we feeling for and what are we doing? So it's important to know when, yes, you guys, all you have to do when you're laying on the table is just breathe and relax, and we're checking in with your body, tuning in. We're gonna give you a little bit of insight of what we're feeling for and what our goal is when we make these contacts. So like I said, it's important to know that we look at the body globally and holistically. And when you look at the body, we're not just bones, separated from our ligaments and all these different organs and things like that. It all has a relationship with one another. So when we have an experience, whether it's some physical trauma, emotional, mental, other stressors in our life, it distorts our nervous system. It gets stored in our body if we didn't process it well. And the distortions happen and organize into patterns. And so these patterns can be stored in the, muscular system. Maybe it's a deeper, into the muscles, you feel a lot of the patterns. It could be stored in the, what's called the ligamentous system. So the ligaments of the body, and tension stored in the ligaments, and also in the fascial plane of the body. So fascia is basically this netting that's over every single muscle and part and organ of your body. So if you if you move one piece, the whole thing shifts. So whenever we make a contact, and also patterns can be stuck in the energetic system, right? So everything is energy, and there's different, essentially, layers in which we're working with your system to make these different contacts in. So whenever we read the system and read the body, we're essentially finding, our goal is to release a tension pattern. So in order to release the pattern that is globally in your body, there's difference in specific access points in which that, if we make an impulse into, can release the pattern that we're working on.
And I use this example a lot. Whenever Loren says access points, what we really mean by that is these areas in the body with a lot of potential energy. And if you guys can imagine, like, you go through a stressful experience and then your shoulders go like this. Well, those tensile fibers, those muscles actually start doing this. And then another stressful thing happens and we do this again and this again. And then all of a sudden there's a ton of potential energy locked up in our musculature, our fascia, our nervous system. And those are essentially the places that we're just trying to find. So where tone is in coherence or in distortion and just feeling into the body. And I will say this too, guys, what we're telling you right now took us probably like 8 years to learn, where it was like, yes, of course it's smooth and efficient now, and you come in for a 15-minute, 30-minute session and you're in and out. What we're about to break down took us like literally 8 years to learn.
We're trying to condense it.
The body and how this process works. So in the beginning, it wasn't so smooth and efficient. It used to take us a really long time to adjust and learn this process. But now a lot of this has become intuitive for us because we've done it time and time again.
Yeah, and another subset to that question is like, well, how can you feel? Because again, whether you've been adjusted or you haven't been adjusted, you can probably tell that we're different than traditional cracking, popping kind of chiropractic, but it is a lighter touch. And a big question we get is like, well, how can you feel? Like, how do you know what you're feeling for? And one, it's kind of like a language that you learn, right? It's a little, you learn the ABCs in the beginning, and then all of a sudden you're speaking in paragraphs and you can, read a whole book. But it is energy, and we are tapping into something that is different. And I always use this example too of, you all have the access to this kind of way of feeling the body and feeling the system too, because I guarantee, you've walked into a room one time and you're like, oof, the vibes are off in here. Or you've walked into a room like, oh, these vibes are great. You didn't feel or look for anything. You just felt it in your body, that the energy of the room. So that's, again, one example of how we use these, tap into these skills to read the system too.
So do we want to read into, just walk people through what we feel when we're going through this process?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome. So the way that energy moves in our body, nerve flow, blood flow, oxygen, starts at the base of our spine right here and goes all the way up to the top of our head and then down the front of our body. So it makes sense to me whenever we were first learning this, and you probably all noticed this, that we start like in this pelvis area. We just feel, and I'm just feeling for what stands out to me, what's moving, what's not moving. Again, years and years of really, really tuning into micro movements. But what I can feel is that whenever I start causing a little bit of almost like a pull here, the rest of Matt's thoracic. And I think about these as like one bubble, and one bubble. And if you were to look at my body, it's kind of broken down into geometry as well, where this section affects this section and it affects this section. So whenever I'm moving his sacrum here, this bottom bone, just ever so slightly, I can just see that this one side wants to move and this side stops right here. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna find almost like I meet his tone, or the tone of his system where it's at, where if it feels really, really deep, I might make a little bit more of a pressure, or this, I'm wiggling this, I don't know if you're noticing, but there is just a lot of movement here in this low back area, which could be a past thing that happened, but I'm just feeling into this and helping his body.
And I don't know if you can
bring
tell.
balance. Sorry.
Yeah, if you can tell when she's making the contacts, but we're also looking at the body and reading the body with our eyes too. But when she did that, there's like this expansion that's kind of happening within the low back and the ribs to create more space there too. So again, these are micro things that you may or may not feel on the table, but just we're giving you some insight into how we view it.
But essentially what we're doing, guys, is finding these areas, these access points, and just bringing more awareness into here, where Matt will start breathing into these points. His nervous system will start recognizing these points, and things will start shifting and shaking. And like Loren said, this whole area is starting to open up. And it's simply just by telling the body, hey, this is how we move. This is how we open. This is how we expand. And when it starts to do that, we just give it a little bit of love and almost just like a little bit of a release, a little bit more potential energy, and let the body do what it's meant to do.
And that kind of rolls into our next most frequently asked question, which is, again, if you're under care, you know this, we'll make a contact and then we'll step away for a moment and then we come back and we make another contact. And another question we ask is like, well, why do you step away? Like Erica said, it's one of the reasons why it's so gentle is that we're teaching the body how to find these patterns on its own. We typically got into a place of this stress or tension because we probably weren't paying attention to our body. So with this approach, we're tuning in, we're finding these points, and we're simply, having your body bring awareness to an area. We make the contact. we create the impulse, creates the change in that pattern. When we step away, that's giving your body a chance to process and move that pattern on its own. And so it's one thing if let's say if I were to always be in here for the entire session, your body doesn't have a chance to do its own thing, and essentially we're releasing it to the intelligence that it has, which is greater than mine, to help heal and move that pattern.
And we say all the time, we're stepping away because your body truly is the most incredible, most amazing healing thing on the planet. What we're tapping into are just simply blind spots or areas where in the past you may have accumulated some of this tension, where for Matt specifically, as this is all happening, this is starting to open up now. And when he does that, it's just bringing awareness, bringing breath, bringing energy, bringing more blood flow and nerve flow to these areas that may have been disconnected. And whenever that starts happening, the body will start doing other amazing things where, if you can see on this camera here, all of a sudden, this line is now completely straight and it goes up into this head area.
It's kind of building there.
Yeah, it's kind of building here now. And I'll say this too, a lot of people will come into us and they're like, I'm having really bad neck pain, like really bad neck pain. And they're like, you barely touched my neck. Because a lot of times, guys, whenever people have pain in the neck or lower areas of the body, they forget that that musculature, all those ligaments, all those nerves actually connect with each other. So with Matt here, if he were having neck pain or back pain, a lot of this potential energy is actually building in the middle of his spine. So we're looking for the area of most ease to do the least amount of work and cause the most amount of change.
And like you said, of looking at the body globally, like let's say, which it's a lot of people out there have neck pain, and you would think, okay, go right to the neck pain, that's where the pain is. But really, in order for the neck or the shoulders to be in the proper position, we actually have to make sure the entirety of the chain is released. So, for example, I'm going to show you just dramatically here. If I'm in this position here, I probably need to release the anterior, the front, to open this up so that the pain and wherever is happening here can actually just sit where it needs to be, so there can be ease there. But yeah, so in this case, the energy is kind of building up in this direction. And so with him, again, to help release the pattern, we kind of open up. And again, it's hard not to go super deep. We're making a contact on the outside, but really the whole, again, you start face down and then you're face up, because we're trying to access both parts, like Erica said, of these like volumes of space within your body. Mm-hmm. So you have neck pain, but how's the anterior going? That's why we do face down and face up.
I want to say too, we call this neural integration because we are working with the nervous system. Integration meaning that we are bringing all these parts that might have been, like I said, blind spots, things that we haven't looked at in a while, and we're bringing them into coherence or balance or putting them all on the same page again, so that whenever we start walking, whenever we start moving, breathing, talking, having communication with people, our system, our nervous system can be at ease. Because Matt probably doesn't feel this tension right here every single day until he's to the point of stress, or he's to the point of maybe really overly exerting himself or moving his low back, something like that, where it's much better to help it now on a really small micro level, because it tells the body less is more. And whenever we can make these contacts, we're teaching the body, you can heal. Small things matter. And it's usually the small things over time that have the most difference.
And here's a little tip to piggyback off of that too is, again, let's say you're someone that has really bad shoulder, neck pain. It's so easy to focus on how bad it feels that you don't scan and pay attention to the rest of your body. And so again, the reason why we're not just hanging out in the area where there's tension or pain is because we want to open up and teach the body to be like, hey, okay, you feel tension here. Let's tune into an area that actually feels really open and really good. Mm-hmm. And then these two still have a relationship. And we want to focus on what actually has more ease than focusing on the pain and just focusing there. So that's almost just like a tip either on the table or in your life. And that kind of rolls into our third and final question, frequently asked question that we get a lot is, what should I be feeling on the table? Or what should I focus on while I'm on the table? One, overall, there's no right or wrong of what you feel on the table. There's going to be life circumstances every single day that are different, that by the time you come and lay on this table, different things are going to come up. So one day you may have a super zenned out, very relaxed, deep session. Another time you may have more energy flowing. All I say is, generally speaking, is just honor whatever comes up while you're on the table.
What comes up for you or what you move through on the table is truly what your body is ready to or at the capacity to process. So we can't say that for us. People ask us like, what are you feeling for? Or what should I expect? And I'm like, well, your body, I couldn't predict that, we're going to adjust you and this back pain is going to be gone, or that all this anxiety is going to be cleared. But what we really do know is that the body is going to have more communication or more communication between these volumes. We have different words for them. We call them neural plexuses. There are 7 of them. But just for purposes of this conversation, we can see this volume moving, this volume, and this volume. And the purpose is just to have these in communication. So whatever it looks like for you, what you should be feeling on the table, maybe I'm in this area. In this low back area, all these nerves in this low back area actually like talk to or communicate or turn on all of our bowel, bladder, gut, digestion, reproductive organs. So maybe while I'm in this area, Matt just feels his stomach gurgle or something like that, like something opens up like that. Or if I'm in this area, maybe I start doing this and all of a sudden he feels like an itchiness because a ton of blood flow is coming here. Or tingling in the fingers possibly, or I'm just trying to think of things that people feel on the
Sometimes
table.
people feel like muscle twitches.
Yeah. Different thoughts. People will tell me all the time, like they're like
thoughts, memories that come up. I always just say, like I said, honor whatever comes up. If a thought drops in while you're getting a session, that's probably for you. Think about it. You're having dedicated time in that day that you've carved out for yourself to heal, to connect back with yourself. So whatever happens during that time, just honor it and don't judge it. Don't make it mean anything. Just kind of relax. This is your session. Like really, again, you can tell from the moment you walk in, our space is very relaxing, and we hope that we create a very safe space because we know how important that is in order for us to heal. And so this is your time, and you can make it whatever you really want to make it. But overall, there's no right or wrong of what you should feel, and whatever comes up, just know that it was perfect and what you needed probably for that day.
Yeah. Do we want to walk through a full, like, little mini session of what this looks like?
Yeah, how about you do it and then I can do mine.
So I'm just going to talk through what we do, how we feel, what I'm feeling for, and just stay with me, guys. Like I said, many years of learning this and just really tapping in. I heard a mentor years ago say that what we're doing is a lot like reading Braille. And whenever you've adjusted people with different tension patterns in different places, you can start to make correlations in your mind, or almost just like my body subconsciously has taken all that schooling, all that intuitive knowledge. And whenever I put my hands on him, I'm feeling into so many different layers. So I'm just going to see what this feels like. So like I said, I opened this up a little bit, this QL muscle here, going into this hip. And it feels like just a little bit more, if I were to raise this hip just a little bit, all of a sudden, this low back area starts communicating a little bit better. And what that tells me is like this nervous system, I think about it like an electrical system. And this electrical system right here has to shoot off into this, has to shoot off into the feet, has to talk to our hands and arms and every muscle in our body. So whenever I'm doing this, I'm just telling this area to communicate with this area. And what I'm doing with movement is just opening up that hip just a little bit. And all of a sudden, I feel just a little bit of a difference under my finger of almost like his musculature just completely let go. And all of a sudden he can breathe a little bit bigger and we can move into this area. And with this area, with Matt specifically, it's very almost like broad. So you automatically want to see what direction it wants to kind of pull in, because this area is a lot broader than this area. So it's almost like this flatness builds a lot of energy right here. So I pull into this like heart space, and what it feels like is this is like our adrenal area, or like stress hormone, our cortisol response kind of happens like right through here. So as I'm opening this up, I'm just kind of feeling that when that opened up right here, this all of a sudden wanted to start shifting too. It's like almost like a band around here for him. So as I'm doing that, I'm just helping this open just a little bit more, just a little bit of movement. He's incorporating some beautiful breath into this, and it's actually opening so much of this fascia. And I tell people all the time, like fascia, there's so many studies on this, but how much emotion fascia actually holds. So even as I'm doing this, I'm opening up Matt's fascia, and old memories, old stories, old patterns, old things that have happened, all of a sudden when that pattern started of that tension, start opening up too. And then we're moving into this heart space. As I open him up there, finding this one spot and just connecting, like this whole area beautifully moving, and this area is now doing the same. So what I'm doing is I'm just finding where there's tension and where there's ease, and bringing a little bit more communication between the two. What this is teaching Matt's body though is what ease and alignment feel like. And it's not just on this table that he's going to feel ease and alignment, but we do this so often and so much that our body starts remembering this. And when stressful situations start happening or coming up, well, this becomes our border or our baseline, because we've sat in this space so long, we've been in this parasympathetic or rest and digest state so much that our body remembers this. And it's not just calm on the table anymore, but as he moves through his life, the more that we do this, the calmer, more at ease, more at peace, more expansive he'll start feeling. I've adjusted Matt for the past very long time. So it's almost like with his system, I know exactly what to do. So I'm not talking that much, but this whole area, just building all this energy and almost opening up his entire headspace here into the neck. I don't know if you can see this whenever I pull on this neck area, this low back actually has this last final piece. And whenever I think about that too, like people say like we hold emotions in our body. And I think about that in a way of like emotions are a certain vibration, a certain frequency. And this area of his low back is a certain frequency. This area of his neck is a certain frequency. And these areas actually have almost like the same frequency. So as I bring these two together, it's like one guitar in a room. If you play an A string, the other A string starts, the other A strings in the guitar room will start playing. And that's all I'm doing is this A string is completely open now. Let's see if these two can start communicating with each other. And as I do this, this whole area starts opening.
And like Erica said too, Matt has really awesome breath with this.
Awesome.
He's just connecting with, and it's important too that, you know, she's talking out a lot of this. Don't think when you're on the table that you have to like do anything. This is all communication with the body and the system. You can kind of almost just be, you know, to the side, kind of just relaxing into it. But a nice gentle breath is really helpful just to help bring more awareness to an area that we're working on. And I say gentle like with like in all caps, because we don't want it to be a forced breath or, you know, forcing anything to like relax. You know what I mean? Just nice, gentle breaths. And when you actually play with that and practice that, you'll notice throughout one session, this may happen to you already. You'll have like a natural like, that happens. And again,
or a yawn.
What that is like you were holding tension and then it released and your body was like, cool, you know?
Yeah. And then I'll say this too, whenever we're doing this, really the only advice I would have for you guys is just to stay curious. So there comes a point whenever some people will even be like numb whenever I'm feeling into their pelvis, like I'm doing this and they really won't feel anything there, but then they'll start to feel this. And I'll say this, whenever I make these contacts, whether it's with your breath, your awareness, even movement, all you're doing is recognizing these places too and just bringing more awareness to these spots. So I just say, stay curious. What do you feel? What comes up for you? And where else do you feel this in your body?
And you'll notice too, after getting care for a good amount of time, that you'll be walking down the street or having a conversation with someone and just noticing your body a little bit more. And that anytime people share that with us, we're like, awesome, because that is really, really what this is about, what healing is about coming back to your body, tuning into your body, being in your body. And so again, this enhances that experience, not only on the table, but whenever you leave and you go out and live your life.
People will like literally tell us, they're like, I have the same, they'll go to a regular chiropractor or like acupuncturist or someone and they're like, it's the same thing every time. It's this neck thing that I keep having. And they have this whole listing, this whole system to get it. And they'll say like, whenever you're adjusting me, you don't touch my neck much, but whenever I go to that other place, all of a sudden this neck thing is no longer a problem. And it's really funny to me because I think what we're doing, the only difference is looking at the body as a whole unit. From the tailbone all the way to the top of the head is where we kind of make these contacts, and just creating ease will allow the rest of the system to move out of that distortion as well.
Awesome. Well, like Erica said, we try to jam pack about 8 years of training into a however many long minute video. But we hope that a few answers questions were answered for you. And yeah. All right, everyone. I hope you enjoyed. I hope you feel satisfied and that your questions are answered. If we happen to not get any of your answers or any of your questions answered, leave a comment down below. Let us know if you come in the office, if you want to know a little bit more in depth on certain parts of what we covered. Again, we try to get a lot of years of study and training and research into a short little video for you all.
And maybe this brought up more questions than you had in the beginning.
Yeah, overall, we wanted to share this video just so that you can, one, kind of get more out of your session, maybe understand a little bit more about our process so that you can just know for yourself or share with others. But yeah, thanks for tuning in.
So if you guys found value in this, please follow, like, subscribe, send to a friend. We cannot wait to see you next time on the tables.